Representative, it's good to see you again here. You raised $13 million in the last quarter. Those are huge numbers there. How much do you anticipate that you'll have to spend in the primary?
Well, Texas is a big state, and there are a lot of voters to meet and introduce myself to. And so that does cost money. I'm thankful that we are raising millions of dollars in grassroots donations. We don't take any corporate PAC money in this campaign. All that money was raised by 215,000 individual contributors who are giving 5, 10, $15 at a time. This is a people-powered campaign. That's exactly how we take on this broken, corrupt political system.
You did face some criticism a few months back when you said you didn't take any corporate PAC money, but you did take some initially, though, didn't you, from the Adelson family that owned the Dallas Mavericks?
No, I've never taken corporate PAC money, and I've never accepted a donation from the Adelson family. I have taken money from groups that are focused on certain issues. In that case, it was an issue of legalizing gambling in the state of Texas, which is an issue I support. I believe it'll create more jobs. I think it'll create more tax revenue for our public schools. And so that is the kind of donations I do accept, but I have never taken corporate PAC money.
Public-facing polls show Jasmine Crockett in the lead here. What do your internal polls show?
I mean, we're going to have our work cut out for us in this race so that we can introduce ourselves to more voters across the state of Texas. And I'm looking forward to a contest of ideas so that we can have a real debate about the direction of the Democratic Party and how we win in November, because that has to be the primary goal for every Democratic voter in this upcoming primary.
Would you debate Congresswoman Crockett?
Of course. I think debates are a great thing. I think it helps voters be able to make an informed decision about the candidates that are before them in any given election. I've always participated in debates, and I'll certainly be open to participating in debates in this upcoming primary race.
Congresswoman Crockett told me a few weeks back that the biggest difference between you and her is experience. She served in Congress and has been doing it a tad longer, I believe she said. But what would you tell the Democratic primary voters why they should vote for you over her?
Well, I think we need outsiders in Washington, D.C. I think we need someone who has experience fighting for working people. My public service career began in the classroom as a public school teacher on the west side of San Antonio. And then I flipped a Trump district that no one thought was winnable to win a seat in the state legislature. And in the Texas legislature, a Republican-dominated body, as a Democrat, I've been able to not only stand up to Republican extremism, I've also been able to pass transformational legislation to help working people. I've passed numerous bills to bring down the cost of prescription drugs, bring down the cost of childcare, bring down the cost of housing. That's the kind of experience we need in the United States Senate.
You're out with your first TV commercial. The message is make life more affordable. Do you expect any issue this year to be more dominant than affordability?
I don't think so. I think people are fed up with a broken, corrupt political system that is not making our lives any easier. And folks are struggling with high prices, not just at the grocery store, but they're struggling with the high price of prescription drugs, the high price of childcare, the high price of housing. So we have to restructure this economy so that it can work for all of us, not just the billionaires at the very top.
You've made combating economic inequality a central theme of your campaign. We talked about it earlier in this interview here too. But what specific Senate legislation would you prioritize if you're elected?
Yeah, the first legislation that I would fight for is comprehensive political reform to get big money out of our politics, to ban super PACs so billionaires can't make unlimited secret donations to political campaigns. I would fight for even more restrictive campaign contribution limits, just like I did in the state legislature. I would also ban lawmakers from trading individual stocks and enriching themselves while they're in office. And then I would also fight for a national ban to end gerrymandering once and for all in all 50 states. These are the types of reforms that can ensure we have a government of, by, and for the people so that our government works for all of us, not just the billionaires.
The Republicans have an equally competitive primary. Is there one Republican you're hoping wins that you can compete against if you win?
Neither John Cornyn nor Ken Paxton deserve the honor of representing our great state in the United States Senate. Both of them have sold us out time and time again. Ken Paxton's crimes are well known. I was part of the bipartisan majority in the Texas House that voted to impeach our corrupt attorney general. But John Cornyn may be even more corrupt than Ken Paxton, because John Cornyn was the deciding vote on that big, ugly bill, that's going to kick millions of Texans off their health care, that big, ugly bill that's going to take food out of the mouths of hungry Texas children, all to give yet another tax break to his billionaire donors. So we oftentimes think corruption is something that's illegal, but corruption is really just the betrayal of the public's trust. It is the abuse of a public office. And by casting the deciding vote on that big, ugly bill, John Cornyn committed an act of corruption of the highest order. So I look forward to prosecuting the case against Ken Paxton or John Cornyn as the Democratic nominee in the Senate race.
Let me circle back to what you said just a moment ago there about about running for it. Internal polls, though, what do they say for you as far as the primary race with Congresswoman Crockett?
I'm probably the lesser known candidate in this race. I'm the new kid on the block. And so I've got my work cut out for me. I've got to introduce myself to voters all over the state of Texas. And that's exactly what we're going to do over the next few weeks and months of this primary race. So polls early on in a race really only measure name ID. And it's why we're going to be focused on meeting voters where they're at in every corner of this state in the weeks ahead.
I believe you're in Temple or going to Temple here very shortly. You campaign with Bobby Polito in the Rio Grande Valley. How important do you think South Texas is going to be for the primary?
I think it's critical. We have to win South Texas if we hope to win this Senate seat. My family is from South Texas. My mom grew up in Laredo. And so I've been down to South Texas multiple times already. We have more than 10,000 volunteers signed up to do the hard work of knocking on doors, making phone calls, sending text messages all over this state, including in South Texas. We have a campaign that is built to win in November. I have a history of doing this. I flipped a Trump district in Williamson County, a county that hadn't voted for a Democrat for president since Jimmy Carter. I was able to win that red district by building a big coalition of Democrats, independents, and Republicans, of bringing in new voters, particularly young voters who were excited to see a fellow millennial running for office. That's exactly what I'm going to do in this race statewide.
Before I let you go here, I want to ask you about Venezuela and the arrest of the dictator Nicolas Maduro there. Your thoughts on this and your thoughts on the Trump administration, the next steps there in Venezuela it's taking to perhaps restore democracy there, even though a socialist leader is the one in charge.
Well, I think people forget that in 2024, Donald Trump, when he was running for president, met with the biggest oil executives in the country, and he promised them, quote, a great deal if they donated $1 billion to his reelection campaign. In response, those oil executives poured cash into the president's campaign coffers. And then this weekend, Donald Trump gave them a gift. He gave those oil executives the nation of Venezuela, home to the largest oil reserves in the world. This is blatant corruption, plain and simple. I remember the Iraq War. I remember a president who took us to war under false pretenses. I saw lives lost. I saw billions of dollars lost. I saw our moral standing in the world lost. And I fear that if we continue down this road of fighting wars to make billionaires richer, we're going to repeat those mistakes of the past.
Representative, always good to see you. Thank you for the time.
It's good to see you too.